Are you an adventurer looking to take your hunt to the next level? Then you're in the right place. Welcome to East Meets West Hunt with your host, Bo Martonic.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the East Meets West Hunt podcast, brought to you by onX. So I wanted to give a little tip of onX this week, and it has to go with when you're scouting. So when I'm scouting for elk or anything else really, I like to use both onX and Google Earth on the side to kind of give an idea for the way the terrain looks. So say I'm scouting out west and I find this specific area I want to mark. Maybe that's a north facing slope or a meadow or whatever that might be. You can mark a place mark on the Google Earth, the desktop version, the pro version. It's free to download, but you can mark your place mark there. And once, say, you have a collection of, say, 15 waypoints, you can save those files as a KML file type, save that to your computer, and go over onto onxmaps.com, go into their web app if you already have the login for that. Go in and go into My Content on the sidebar there and hit Import File. And you can upload those waypoints right into your onX maps, and then you can go in on the onX Hunt app and change that waypoint, change the icon, change the color, description, whatever you might need, and you have those files there. Then they're automatically transferred right to your phone. You can use them for offline use, in the field, everything else. So that's something that I've found is really valuable when using the two to be able to scout. And because when I'm in the field, onX is the only thing that I use, and it's really helpful to be able to use those two programs together. So if you have the onX Hunt app, then you can definitely do that. And if you don't, if you want to use the code EMW at checkout, save yourself 20% off the Hunt app. So that's either the premium or the elite membership. And the University of Elk Hunting, so Corey Jacobson and Elk 101 have put together the most comprehensive course for elk hunting. And actually what I just talked about with onX there, I learned that from the course. So Corey has a whole video going through showing how to transfer over the waypoints from Google Earth to onX, and also to how to transfer it to a standard GPS unit. If that's still, what you want to use, you can, 100% do that. And Corey goes through that all in the course. And right now, one of the biggest things that I've been practicing with and using Corey's course for is the elk calling section. So practicing the cow calls, bugles, different things. On my way to work this morning, had a mouth call in and was just practicing, trying to get ready. I'm using the Rocky Mountain hunting calls. The Contender diaphragm is my personal favorite. Everyone's got their own, fit of mouth and, their own preference, but that diaphragm call is my favorite. So the University of Elk Hunting, once you sign up for that, you get a percentage off to the Elk 101 store as well. So calls like Rocky Mountain hunting calls and just about anything else that you need, you can find on the Elk 101 store, and you get discounts through the University of Elk Hunting on that. So if you want to check out the University of Elk Hunting, it's not too late to go through the course here. We're about a month out from September. It's got some stuff in there for October rifle hunts. Anything you're kind of looking for, use the code EastMeetsWest at checkout, save yourself 20% off, and then the whole course is good for a year. So check that out. And also Maven Optics. So Maven has come out with the highest quality optics at half the price of the top European competitors. They're doing that through their direct consumer business model. So they're working directly with the customers. They're not putting them in box stores, Cabela's, Bass Pro, nothing like that. Online or it shows where you're going to find Maven. And what's really cool about that is they're able to offer as many customizable options as you want. I mean, thousands of different options. You can change all the colors on it. You can change the camo patterns. You can change just about anything on the optics to make it your own. And so you can check that out at mavenbuilt.com. Use the code eastmeetswest-gift at checkout and get yourself a free gift with any full price optics order. And lastly, Heather's Choice. Heather has developed some of the highest quality food out there, and for the backcountry adventures, for hunting, for traveling, whatever that might be. And I'm really big, if you haven't been able to tell, on nutrition and how my body works and reacts. And when you're on extended hunts, nutrition is huge. So with their high fat, high protein type foods that just give you fuel and recovery for what you need throughout the mountains, check out their foods at heatherschoice.com. If you want to help support the podcast, you can use the link that I have in the partners page at eastmeetswesthunt.com. Just click on the Heather's Choice icon to go over there, or use the code eastmeetswest at checkout. That'll get you free shipping on any orders over $99. So definitely, go over and check that out as we're getting close here. So definitely should be stocking up on some of your food options before the season comes here. So as far as some other news here, so the new apparel went live last week, and it was a great week with sales. I gave away a bunch of OnX memberships with orders over $50. Just ran out of those, so those sold out in less than a week. But I still have a bunch of shirts, hats, a whole bunch of different things on the website available for purchase there. So check that out. Grab some of your gear there. I'll be wearing the Stealth Multicam hat on my hunts this year, so I'm really, really excited to get to use that. It's a perfect hat for the application there. In addition to that, so as far as how my preparation's going, if this is your first time listening, or if you've been listening for a while, I'm going to Idaho this year, going with my good buddy Michael Palladino and my cousin Mason Martonic, as well as Justin Mueller will be filming the hunt, and we're going to do something. Not sure how this film is going to be released, possibly a Badlands Film Festival entry. We're going to come up with some ideas with it, but there's going to be a lot of content created out of this hunt, so I'm really excited about that. And I've been going through my gear like crazy lately. I wish actually I was done at this point with doing that, but a little bit behind. Everyone gets busy, but so I created a gear list online that I've talked about before, where you can go in and check out, click on the links, and it'll take you over to Amazon or wherever else that you can purchase those items and check them out. But I'm also creating one for day hunting, which is what I'll be doing most of the time. So I'm going to create a gear list for that, get that going and uploaded so everyone could see it, as well as also how I'm packing my truck and some of the stuff I'm taking there for truck camping and just everything else. So that's going to be kind of a neat one that I don't see very much, and I've kind of created my own system for it and am working on it with I added a decked storage system, which is like bed drawers to the back of my truck to keep everything even more organized. So I'm going to go through that whole layout there and show everyone what exactly I'm taking or what we're taking and what the reasons behind that is. So working on that right now, and not sure 100% how it's going to work, but I might be able to have a downloadable gear list. You can download my gear list right to your computer, your phone, and also populate your data in there and your gear to be able to use the same list as well. I grabbed a list from Brady Miller. He did one on Go Hunt last year and kind of modified it to fit my needs. And I think that it could be really beneficial for other people to be able to check out. So I'm working on that right now. So be looking for that hopefully here in the next couple of weeks to be able to check out. So on this podcast, I have Les Welch. And if you've never heard of Les before, he is he's a super humble guy. He doesn't talk a whole lot about his success, but the guy just straight up gets it done every single year. Whether that's Wisconsin whitetails or that's Rocky Mountain elk, he just flat out gets it done. And he takes an approach similar to what I do when it comes to hunting, with super aggressive, in your face type hunting. And I love it. So it was great to be able to talk to him about that. And so we talk about elk hunting and we talk about whitetails in this one. So it's kind of a good mixture and a perfect example of, a guy from the Midwest, heading out west to hunt and you really get it done on do-it-yourself type hunts. So definitely check out this episode here with Les Welch and let me know what you guys think. Thanks. All right, welcome back to another episode of the East Meets West Hunt Podcast. Sitting here in a very rainy afternoon here in Seven Springs, Pennsylvania at the Total Archery Challenge with a buddy of mine, Les Welch. What's up, buddy?
How you doing, man? Yeah, I'm not used to this rain in Pennsylvania, but beautiful place.
Yeah, it's been an extremely rainy day so far, as trying not to have the tent blow over and everything else, but it's been good.
Definitely the theme of Total Archery Challenge this year, rain, rain, rain. But
I think it's that way all across the country from the sounds of it.
Yeah.
I mean, you're from Wisconsin and everyone else here is from all over the country, and it's been rainy everywhere.
We got 3 inches yesterday, the day I was home in between tacks, and one day 3 inches. It's been that way since basically February. 62 inches of snow in February we had.
Really?
Yeah, our annual is 41 inches a year, and we had like 62 in February alone. So,
jeez.
Yeah.
What part of Wisconsin are you from?
North Central. I'm actually about 65 minutes southeast of the Minneapolis airport.
Okay.
So, get to do some northern hunting, big woods. There's not a lot of agriculture in my area. So, yeah. Kind of similar to what you got out here without the elevation or the mountains,
Yeah, I hear a lot of similarities between Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, and as far as even hunter numbers, just kind of the type of hunting and everything else. So
lots of big woods, a lot of hunters, a lot of public land. Just very similar. I've never hunted here, but following your stuff and a lot of other people's, it's very similar.
Yeah. So what are you doing here at Total Archery Challenge?
So I'm a Sitka ambassador, so we get to come here and hang out and talk about fun gear. We don't do any selling, so it's a lot of education, which works out great for me. Just enjoy helping people, and so this morning alone, having people come up and say, "Hey, I'm planning my first elk hunt out in the mountains," and this actually fits right in with your theme as well. I'm from Pennsylvania, and I don't know what what do I need, and it's like super easy to build their system for them. So we're here for education, show and tell, let people touch it, feel it, try it on, and maybe fling a few arrows, but otherwise just hang out with some really good people all around,
Yeah, and help people as far as with like the planning, building a system. It's no secret that buying good clothing is expensive. So it takes a planning. It takes planning to it.
It does, and actually the couple of gentlemen we just had stop here a few minutes ago, he's planning out a hunt for 4 or 5 years out because he wants to have the right gear for that system, that time frame, and it can be very expensive. So we're here to help limit that, but we don't want to see anybody wait 5 years to go on a hunt. So how can we help them out, get them the right gear the first time, so that they're successful out there, whatever that definition of successful is,
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about yourself, Les. What's kind of your background?
Well, I've been in Wisconsin my entire life. I travel out west every year, anywhere from 3 to 13 or 14 weeks. 45 years old, couple kids. Used to be a fat kid. Now I'm kind of in the middle ground of balancing muscle and endurance. Background, I've done machining and engineering for over 20 years. I really enjoy helping people, so I've been a personal trainer for 10 years doing that. The hunting industry with, Sitka and Leupold and Mountain Ops and Yeti. Just getting to help people is a lot of fun. So I do a lot of writing for rockslide.com, different magazines, just a whole multitude of stuff that that it entails helping other people, being around good people, and just kind of enjoying life because we really don't know about tomorrow.
Yeah. No, that's true. And it's awesome coming to these shows and stuff. You meet so many amazing people, like-minded people and everything. And
for sure. I mean, there is not a better group of people. I mean, we can look around us right here, and, some of these people I've only known for 6 weeks, some of them for 10 or 11 years. But it's the industry kind of, for the most part, will weed out the people that we don't want to be around. They weed themselves out, so to speak. And it's just some great people to be around. I brought my bow to 3 total archery challenges so far. This is actually the 4th one, and I've probably shot 35 arrows.
Yeah.
And maybe 5,000 photography pictures.
Yeah.
So it's fun to shoot some photos, just hang out and BS, and yeah.
Have you been shooting photos for a while?
So, yeah, probably 6 or 7 years, but really seriously the last 2, starting to do more photo shoots, more outdoor stuff, wherever it entails. But yeah, I'm actually, so my son is now 16 and my daughter 14, and she just had her spring orchestra concert, so I got to go in and shoot that element. And, when I'm out hunting now, it's always the camera I pick up first when Hunter is along. So it's photographs, it's some video. At all these events, for all the different companies, shooting some photos. And, yeah, it's fun. It's a lot of fun. I'm enjoying the shutter clicking almost as much as the trigger pulling now.
Yeah.
Actually, probably maybe a little more.
Yeah. Man, I love shooting photos as you do, and I'm not extremely good at it by any means. I just like doing it. I try to get better at it the most I can, and the only way you get better is by hitting that shutter. Right,
and asking questions. We got Sam Soholt sitting over here in the Yeti booth, and I was on a hunt with Sitka this spring down in Florida for some Osceolas that Brett Singh came down and shot a bunch of photography, and man, it goes for anything: photography, clothing, archery stuff. If you got questions, these guys are really, really helpful. All of us, are. Go ahead and fire those questions away. And heck, I'm pretty sure even on your podcast or your website, your social media, hit up old Bo here. He's got some good answers for you.
Yeah, a lot of bullshit answers, but
Hey, if we don't know it, we'll figure it out.
Yeah,
it might be right, might be wrong, but there's only one way to learn, right?
Yeah, you're exactly right, man. That's cool. And so it's funny, we were talking earlier about, how it's perceived as, a tough thing to plan, a Western hunt and everything.
Oh, man,
and you have your own opinions on that.
I do, and I think we're very similar that way. But so I get told, I always tell people, tell me I can't do something. I might fail, but I'm sure as heck going to try it. I don't like being told I can't do something, And I've heard so many people. I started elk hunting in 2009 was my first elk hunt. 2008 was my first mule deer hunt. 2007 was my first Western hunt, and that was antelope. So I started that elk hunt planning 3 years prior to that, buying all the gear. I don't like to buy gear 5 or 6 times. I'd rather buy that high-end pair of Leupold binoculars right out of the bat and my Sitka, jacket right off the bat rather than some Walmart stuff 4 or 5 times. So I planned that for 3 years. Do you have to do that? Absolutely not, but that's just kind of my anal perspective.
Yeah.
So I'll have people tell me all the time, well, I can't go out scouting. I'm 65 minutes from an airport. It's $200 round trip to Denver. I can rent a car for $14 a day. I can be a long weekend, 2.5 days, and I do this 2 to 3 times a year. Fly out, rent a car, go up in the mountains, scout, put out trail cams. Actually, I cross off more spots on those trips than I actually find, but that narrows it down for me when I get out there in September. I've marked off 50 spots on a map that I had 60 spots marked on. Yeah, I got 10 spots to go, but they're spots that look good.
Yeah.
An out west trip, people put too much emphasis or too many eggs in a basket of saying I can't, or it's too much work or too much thought. It's not. Just go do it. Tomorrow's not promised. Figure it out. Go online. Go to rockslide.com. Ask Bo at East Meets West. Shoot me an email. There's so many options out there for you for information.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And the only way you learn how to do it is just by doing it.
Trial by fire, man.
That's what I did, and that's what you did. And,
absolutely.
And your success rate is actually pretty incredible. And I'll speak on the behalf of it. You said that, in 10 years you've killed 11 bulls?
Yeah. It's I'm a DIY public land hunter. I don't pay for guided hunts, and I have nothing against that. To each their own apple. I like figuring it out. If it's salmon fishing, I personally don't care to reel that in. Once that salmon smashes the dipsy or the downrigger, I hand that rod off. But just figuring it out for me. So it's been DIY. There's a lot of planning, I've had some really good people teach me a lot of things, and I have no qualms about passing that information on. I'm not going to tell you my honey hole. Honestly, when it comes to honey holes too, I mean, we were talking about that earlier with whitetails. I've never killed a giant or a big whitetail out of the same tree, or sometimes even the same 40 acres. It's, I think that's a little overrated. I prefer fresh areas. I would rather go to a new unit in Colorado, Idaho, New Mexico, or Montana than I would the one I was at last year. Yeah, I know the one I was at last year, but I know it. I want to see what's over the next mountain, over the next ridge, and I love exploring, and that's a big part of it for me.
Yeah. That's a thing, though, that you and I have a lot in common, because people were telling me that. They're like, why don't you keep going back to the same spot? You're learning what you're doing, and maybe I could be more successful doing that. And I do it with whitetails, too. Once I I don't want to say completely figure out an area, but once I get it, I'm ready for the next thing.
What's the next challenge?
I keep scouting new areas and doing this. I love seeing new country, whether that's in Pennsylvania, that's in Colorado, Idaho, whatever it is. Yeah. I love seeing new country and just trying to figure it out. And like you said, just the whole, I talk about it all the time, but the adventure aspect of it is
absolutely
amazing.
And it kind of goes back to the photography, man. I love the photography portion of it. I mean, I take, anywhere from 1 to 5 or 6,000 pictures sometimes. Yeah, most of them are garbage, but I enjoy doing it. It stockpiles it back. I mean, I was, going through my portable hard drive, what should I put on social media? Oh, there's a 2008 picture of a wall. Oh, yeah, I remember that hunt, and it clicks. But just back up a little bit about what you said about, learning an area. I think there's a lot of truths to that. You do learn an area, but I think you get comfortable. You get complacent. Mm-hmm. I see it a lot of people, a lot of guys that go back 6 or 7 years, and they get excited because they drew their bow this year. My gosh, guys, I'm taking up golf if that's the case. I mean, no way. You get complacent. I think once you know an area, you're not looking for the new aspects. You're not looking for what changes. When you go into a fresh area blind or a new area that you're not familiar with, it's boots on the ground. You need to figure it out. So I think it's a good element, I believe. Yeah,
it's completely outside of your comfort zone, and that's where you can grow the most.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's said a lot, and that's so true. It comes the same way with hunting as 100%. It is anything else. Yeah, and like you said, you've went to how many different states have you hunted?
Oh, boy, so I've hunted Idaho, Colorado, Montana, New Mexico. That might be it. Oh, Wyoming. I've got points in Nevada, Arizona, Utah, and I've just kind of been stockpiling those points. But Wyoming, I've hunted multiple times, Colorado multiple times, Idaho multiple times, Montana only once, and New Mexico multiple times. And there's a variance there. I'll take that New Mexico tag every time I can draw it, but that's that's a low percentage, 2 to 6% chance of drawing that tag. So,
yeah. I put in this year.
Did you?
Yeah, unsuccessful, but
yeah. You gotta be prepared for that. That's usually the case. But man, when you draw it, it's fun.
Yeah.
New Mexico's it's a different element, but it's very cool.
Yeah,
for sure. And it doesn't matter. I love the mountains. Being from Wisconsin, just showing up in Vermont last weekend for a Total Archery Challenge, it blew my mind. I'm like, shoot, it's beautiful out here.
Yeah,
I love mountains, man.
What do you think? There's probably a variety of reasons, but what do you think some of your the main components of you being successful on these hunts, kind of boils down to?
I guess pick 2 things right off the bat. I don't like failure, and failure doesn't necessarily mean not punching a tag. If I give everything and don't punch a tag, that's okay. But knowing how to read a map. So I learned elk hunting mainly from my buddy Mike, and he just retired here 10 days ago. But he was a surveyor for whatever. I don't want to date him too much, but 30-ish years.
Yeah.
And the guy knows maps inside and out. And so he ingrained that from day one. Learn how to look at a map, how to read a map, and what to look for. I honestly feel naked if I go any time without a map in my pocket now. Where normally it was a GPS and point A to point B. Now, not anymore.
Yeah.
Learn how to look at a map, read it, and then just, I don't give up. Him and I will leave the tent before it gets daylight, and we might not get back until 3 a.m., depending where elk have us. We'll hunt until legal light is done, and then if we got 5-6 miles sometimes back to camp, just buy a headlight. Have a mountain house, Heather's Choice. Whoops.
Well, how many times do you see, though, out west of everyone,
oh, man, all the time, dude.
Before it's dark, heading back. They got to get,
or they're cooking breakfast at 10 o'clock. I'm like, no, we don't even know what our camp looks like until one of us tags out and we have to be packing meat, or we're done with the hunt and we're breaking camp. We're literally not, we don't spend any time at our camp. It's there to lay down. We honestly probably should consider bivvy hunting a little bit more, but we generally hunt. So one of the other things we look for, I think that helps makes us a little more successful, is drainages that give you multiple options. Like we'll never pack into a spot that's got one drainage going whatever direction, and that's where you're going to hunt. If the elk aren't there, if you bust them out, if somebody else pushes those elk, you're kind of in trouble. We want to have at least 3, 4, 5, 6 options. Even if we've got to cut over into another drainage that splits, we'll do that. But yeah, no. We've killed more midday bulls than any other time. Midday bulls are very common, 10 to 1. Very common, just like big whitetails in a rut, man.
You're into bugling, aren't you?
Oh, dude, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I can sit in a tree stand all year long, like at home, where it's, I don't know. Corey Jacobson says it best. You've heard it. You want to hunt the one bull that wants to die right now. It's interaction. Same with turkey hunting, man. I mean, if I can't call him in, I don't want to sit in a blind. No thanks.
Yeah.
Each their own. I'm not, that's just the way I am.
Yep.
So we cover a lot of ground, anywhere from, probably 6 miles a minimum to, I was in New Mexico 2 years ago on a solo hunt. I covered 19 miles one day looking for elk. So, yeah, it's aggressive for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's for sure. I mean, I love that. I mean, like I said, you and I have a lot in common because I love being aggressive, and we'll get into the whole whitetail side a bit, but like, as far as that with elk, and maybe I could, sit there over a wallow and be, successful. And maybe that's my fault for that, but I just love freaking, chasing bugles and moving and just covering country and trying to find that one that wants to, like you said, die.
Yep, that one bull, yep. And we do that a lot. So we'll, like I said, it's daylight to dark hunt for us. Yeah, there's over lunchtime, if it's quiet, it's slow, we're going to sit down, take a half-hour lunch. We're still calling every 10, 12 minutes, making sure that animals know we're around. Elk in the rut are like whitetails in the rut. Satellite bulls, young bulls are constantly moving. They're from one herd to another, one drainage to the next. So being there, making yourself visible, so to speak, audible, it's very productive.
Yeah. And so you kind of alluded to, do you basically hunt from the truck most of the time? Like, is that where you set up a base camp?
Never.
Oh, So
2014 Wyoming, we creep crawled Mike's truck in about 3-4 miles, set up a base camp that we hunted out of, which, man, that was pretty crazy fun.
Yeah.
It's pretty nice to have, like, trout out of the creek and canned potatoes.
Yeah.
No, we backpack in. So we got a spot in Colorado. It's about 5-6 miles in. It's an OTC unit, so that unit we've learned really good. It's one of the few repeat places we have. So we'll backpack in there. New Mexico, it's all backpacking.
And then you set up like a base camp.
Spike camp.
Spike camp, yeah.
Yep, same concept. Yep, 4 to 7 miles in there. Montana, we're spiked in. Wyoming, in this other area, we're doing both there. Wyoming's a little different beast, where you can't hunt the wilderness areas, and some areas have a little more roads, so sometimes it's a truck camp, but usually it's still in, even there, 1, 2, 3 miles, just saves you a little bit of time.
Yeah.
But it is kind of nice, I'm not lying, as I get a little bit older, that some of those creature comforts are a little nice sometimes.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, the first couple years, I backpacked into a spike camp, basically. I haven't, like, fully bivvy hunted before, but would go into a spike camp and hunt. And I kept finding myself in this spot hunting back towards the trucks where I was finding elk. Yeah. So this past year, I went in there for the first few days and just set up from the truck and slept in the rooftop tent and everything. And holy cow, is that nice. The one thing, though, is you have to be disciplined to get up earlier because you have a longer hike in.
Absolutely.
And everything else, where otherwise I could wake up and basically be in the...
You're almost hunting right there.
Yeah, you're almost hunting right there.
Yeah. Yeah. So we've got a couple spots in Wyoming like that where we've hunted. We've been lucky to draw that general archery tag a few times here recently. And we'll do the same thing. It might be another extra mile and a half. But like you said, you get up an extra 30 minutes earlier and you can eat a little nicer at the truck. You can sleep a little nicer, have a lantern at night for cooking or whatever. And it is nice. I'm not gonna lie. But it's always effectiveness too. There's that balance of being able to be where the elk are when you need to be and still being a little bit more comfortable. So
Yeah. Do you you had kind of mentioned that you do some solo trips. Mm-hmm. What's that like, hunting elk solo?
I like it. Mike hunted solo a lot, and then we kind of hooked up and we hunted a lot together. And it depends on our preferences, how each one of us that year want to apply for tags, how the tags are going, the application strategies. So if we try to hunt together as much as we can, and a lot of times we'll draw the same tag and even get into the same area and camp right next to one another. But maybe if we're trying to find elk, get them narrowed down, we'll go solo directions and narrow them down. I drew a really good Southwest New Mexico, the Gila 16B, a couple years ago, and Mike ended up drawing a different unit. And so I put on like 108 miles in 6 days there solo. It's fun. The one thing I like about solo hunting is you make or break your hunt. You don't mess somebody else up. You don't depend on somebody else. If you want to go left, you go left. If he wants to go right, and there's two of us thinking about it, okay, now we got to talk it over. And if you go right and it doesn't work out, like, shit, we should have went left. Yep. And we don't have that. I don't want to say competition, but we don't have that feeling towards one another. It's we'll look at one another and say, no, let's go left. He'll say, no, you go right. It doesn't matter. We get along. We hunt really well together. But no, solo is fun. There's people who it does not work for. After 2 days away from their family or not talking to people, they're just, it just doesn't work. I'm okay with that.
Yeah. No, I think the first year I went out, I don't think I could have done it solo.
Yeah.
Like, I think the more I do it, the more I could do it. The one thing that has always kind of concerned me is getting an elk out by yourself. Mm-hmm. Have you done that?
Yeah. Yeah. And a good one that comes to mind is, I got to think about the year here. It doesn't matter. It's around 2011, 10, 09 or 10. Mike killed a bull in Montana in a burn nonetheless, and it was about 80 degrees. He was actually wearing sunscreen not to get burnt. And if I remember right, it took him 4 or 5 days to get that elk out. But you keep it in the shade, you keep it along a creek where it's cold at night, covered. I don't want to say we don't worry about it. That sounds very nonchalant. We do worry about it, but it's not an issue if you take care of it right. Mm-hmm. The biggest thing is, can you get that out physically? And it's not necessarily a time frame. The body tends to give out a little bit as well. And I know I'll catch some flack when I say that time frame, but I've had, bulls in for 5, 6, 7 days. If they're cool enough, they're fine. Yeah. So mentally is just as important as physically tough. That's for being solo. That's for being with a partner. You got to have the will and the want, and some people don't have that, and that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and then, really, a lot of times this whole type of even Western hunting or backpack hunting isn't for everybody.
Not at all.
I mean, for a lot of people, it probably isn't. But you don't know unless you try it.
Absolutely.
Yep. I can tell you my first hunt, probably day 4 or 5, I didn't know if it was for me. I was like, holy cow, what the hell? I put in all this time to do this. This is miserable. And then once I got through it, grinded through the rest of 7 days, then I'm like, I can't wait to do it again. Yeah. Like, it was like one of those things that it's funny, but it's definitely not for everybody.
It's not, and it's a huge learning experience. So I tell anybody, if I talk to you, I'll give anybody my cell number, my email. If you got a question, call. Again, I don't care if it's 2 a.m. If I'm awake, I'll answer it. If I'm not, it'll be tomorrow morning when I get up at 7 or whatever. But if you would see my pack, and I've got a picture of this, man, I'll send it to you. My first elk hunt was with my best friend from high school. We went to Idaho in an OTC unit. Bunch of research. Mike had helped us with an area a little bit, quite a lot. And dude, I'm not lying to you a bit when I say my pack. So I'm a Kafaru loaded up. It was, the Long Hunter 7,000 inch pack, completely stuffed full. At 106 pounds in that pack. That didn't include my bow that was strapped to my chest, my binos on my chest, my rangefinder on my chest, my pocket stuffed with food. I'm not kidding you a bit when I say I was 125 pounds easy walking in of gear. We'd planned 16 days in the backcountry.
For your first hunt?
For my first hunt, man. So here we roll up to the spot in the morning. We went to the trailhead that that night before, found the trailhead. We had it all marked on GPS where we were going. We actually got a hotel room that night, like an hour away. Got our packs dialed up. I mean, we had a lot of shit, dude. I say dialed up, but we were ready anyways.
Yeah.
So here's how bad it was. We come in, park at the truck, and there's elk bugling at the truck. But, within a mile of the truck. No lie, we walked past these elk to hike for 16 hours because we were like, we had a predetermined spot we were going to go, and that's where we wanted to go camp. And that's where we were going to set up for 16 days of hunting. Yeah, so we got in there. It took us about 9 hours to get in there, and we realized we had water, but we couldn't get to it. It was so steep, you could not get down to the lake. We were out of water. We're like, what do we do? It took us 9 hours to get in here. What do we do if we kill an elk? We got no water. So we turned around and hiked back. It took us 7 hours to get back to the truck. We hiked for 16 hours, pretty much, besides a 5-minute break here and there and about an hour where we got in there and sat there and decided what to do. First day for, 16 hours. That was my first hunt.
Holy cow.
So I'm not kidding you. At the trailhead at 9 o'clock that night, right at dusk, we're setting up our tents at the truck, our little bivvy tents, The alarm clock goes off the next morning at 5:30, and I'm out there. I'm getting my stuff ready, and so I already got Plan B rolling in my head for that next morning. There's elk bugling, and I walk past the first day, and I hear my buddy's tent unzip, and his head peeks out a little bit. He goes, "What in the F are you doing?" I said, "Dude, it's gonna be light in like 30 minutes." He says, "I said, I'm gonna head up to Plan B." He goes, "F that." He says, "I'm going back to bed." Like that day one was. I mean, it was brutal.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget the look on his face or the words he said. Till the day I die, I'll remember those words. But I was like, I'm going. And so I killed my first bull later that night.
Did you really?
Yeah.
On day 2 of your very first
day that I physically hunted elk. Second day we were actually elk hunting. But I killed a 5x5 that night. Sam helped me pack him out. We hunted for 15 more days, 14. Had some opportunities, a couple of missed shots, we just didn't capitalize on for his tag, and I learned a lot, man. I mean, who walks past bugling bull elk a mile from the truck? I'm raising my hand over here for all those you can't see it. But,
yeah.
So, we, there's a lot of us out there that can help narrow your learning curve down. I've got some things in the work, like Corey Jacobson's Elk 101, man. His Elk University, look it up. I mean, that itself is like that's worth $1,000, and you can probably get it for $100 ish somewhere online.
80 if you use the code East Meets West.
There you go. See, there you go. And I'm not kidding you. That itself, if you've not hunted elk, will take years off your learning curve. If you have hunted elk, I guarantee you there's $80 worth of material in there, guaranteed. And I'm working on a couple things. So I actually teach people. Like I will bring a small group of people in. 8 hours on a Saturday, 4 hours, 6 hours on a Sunday, whatever it is. Let's talk gear. Let's talk elk hunting. Let's talk maps. So I'm doing some of that stuff too. But I reach out to any of us online, and simple questions. Rock slide will help narrow that learning curve. Do whatever you can, but don't not go either because you think it's overwhelming. I mean, 125 pounds for 16 hours was a lot, but
yeah,
I wouldn't trade it though, man.
Yeah, it's a hell of a story, if anything,
I'll send you those pictures. You're going to go like, what were you even thinking?
Yeah.
I don't know. I wasn't sure what to think at that point.
Yeah, well, I mean, even me on my first trip definitely wasn't that much weight, but like mine, I weighed my pack, and I bought like what I thought was pretty lightweight gear, but I carried way more stuff than I needed to. I was somewhere around 72 pounds or so, which is still a lot more than you need for 7 days. 7 days,
Yeah.
And I wish, I really should have brought more food and less gear, that thing. But yeah, it's crazy. It's definitely a learning curve, but you got to do it. You got to go out and give a shot at it. And you've given me, just talking to you earlier and everything, some more motivation for it again. You're just like,
Oh, it's an addiction. Like, yeah, I love to talk elk hunting, and working with Sitka and these different industry companies over all these shows. I mean, just even this year, 15 shows this year. It's an addiction. I tell people literally, like, do not go do this until you're ready to commit to it, because you're gonna love it to the point where you're gonna want to go every year, or you're probably not gonna go again, or at least not for 5 or 10 years. But mostly you're going to want to go next year, and you're going to have to figure that out. I'm sure there's been dissolved marriages and bank accounts and a lot of that stuff. But again,
Hey, you can't take it with you.
You can't take it with you, and you don't know if that with you is going to be tomorrow or if it's going to be in 30 years. So give it a whirl. Send it.
Yep, send it. That's the perfect way of saying that. So we were talking also earlier a little bit about the whitetail side of things, and I've brought it up on this podcast before about my extremely aggressive kind of whitetail tactics, and you take that to a whole nother level yourself. And can you talk a little bit about whitetails? Because I mean, that's kind of, I mean, I guess would be your bread and butter as far as that's what you grew up, doing.
I'm almost 45. My dad, like, my passion for the outdoors has to come from him. I mean, he's more of a fisherman, but like I've been in the woods with him and on the water since I was 3 years old. So growing up in Wisconsin, we've got deer. I mean, you guys got deer hunters too. We've got 600,000 in our state. Rifle hunters. So I've killed a lot of deer in my time. I love whitetail in the rut. Like it's a toss-up, a bugle and bull, and I love that they're September and November. Like if they were the same months, man, I would be so conflicted of what to do, and I like to do them both for like the entire month if I can. So whitetail in Wisconsin, we got a lot of deer. We've got some really good pockets of great deer in the state. I don't hunt those pockets. Again, I'm a public land hunter. It's all I've ever done. Been really fortunate to tag some nice whitetails in Wisconsin, and it's really happened a lot over the last 10 or 11 years since I've changed tactics, become more aggressive. Baiting neither here nor there. I'm not a fan of it. How I've done it in the past. I know what it's about. I know how animals react. It's just not. It's not my style. So learning how to hunt away from bait or away from people who bait, and being aggressive over the last 10 to 12 years, I guess. Do the math. My success has skyrocketed, and on big mature bucks. That's like an elk, man. You get that 5x5 that comes in bugling. He's still going to get an iron wheel to the freaking chest. That's just the way it is. But a whitetail comes in, that 125-inch 3-year-old whitetail. He's pretty tough to shoot right now. Not saying depending on the situation in the state. I still like killing them. But becoming aggressive over the last 10 years has put more inches of antler and fun. I love interaction with animals. Turkeys is aggressive. Elk is aggressive. Whitetails are aggressive. Ducks and geese, obviously, that's it's interaction. So that's I really enjoy that. So yeah, we did talk a little earlier about our aggressive styles, and I kind of hate to let that cat out of the bag, but I've helped some, or I don't know if I want to say helped is the right word, but showed and told some people back home what I've done over the last few years, and some of those guys are trying it now, and they're putting some whitetails on the wall that they've known were there, but they've just never been able to get it figured out, and it works. It's not for everybody. Some people, we were talking about, I don't know if you want to say it.
Clint, my buddy Clint Casper, he has a completely different outlook on it than you and I do, where he's not into calling much. And
does it work for him?
Yeah, and it does.
Exactly. It's his style.
He's extremely successful with it. Yep. And you and I take the other side of it, and gonna have to let the cat out of the bag.
Right.
Call like a motherfucker.
Exactly. And that's what it is. So it sounds like you're more of a calling guy, and I do that as well. So if you want to know, kind of like I could send a video of exactly what I do, but I literally have 3 grunt calls and a can call on my person, and a set of 140-inch 8-point real antlers, and all 5 of those pieces get used about in the actual rut, what I consider the rut in Wisconsin or Kansas or Missouri, that November 1st to the 15th, about every 8 to 12 minutes. Like Corey Jacobson got a note left on his windshield a couple years ago that if you're up in this drainage, you call way too much. Like if anybody would hear me in the Wisconsin whitetail or the Midwest whitetail woods, they'd be like, what is wrong with that guy? I know that I probably move a few deer, around me that I don't see, but I also know the bucks that I kill, they come in hard, they come in fast, and they're ready to die, essentially. All caution is to the wind. They've come downwind, they've come upwind, they've come sideways, and they come right to the base of their tree. They're amazing, like an elk or a turkey at pinpointing that location. I killed a public land whitetail on October 28th, 2013 in Wisconsin. He's a 172-inch buck at 3 yards. Like, you could have done jumping jacks in the tree stand, man. So to tell you how I do this, like every 8 to 10 minutes I do this calling sequence, because if you know mature bucks in the rut, they're moving through the woods at a quick clip. If they're not with a doe, they're looking for that next doe. So they're head up, they're walking, head down, they're sniffing trails. I saw this buck. I did a rattling sequence. My horns were hung up, and I'm not kidding you. Like 2.5 minutes later, I spot this buck coming. I was actually texting my same buddy from that Idaho hunt, where he was in a tree stand, 100 miles away. So we're texting what was going on, which wasn't much. And I randomly, as I'm typing, look, and I see this buck. I had just hung the antlers up 2.5 minutes earlier, and I'll 100% tell you that buck did not know that I did that. He was not within range 2.5 minutes prior. He had nose to the ground. He was 80 yards behind my stand, downwind, and he was looking for a doe. And I was like, holy crap. By the time I shoved the phone in my pocket, stood up, hung the bow, and grabbed the horns again, I couldn't see him. He'd already covered 90, 100 yards. But I knew within the next 1 to 3 minutes he was going to stop, he was going to look around, and that was my chance. So I grunted really hard, and I started rattling those horns, and I rattled them for 2 minutes straight. Did not put them down. Hung him up, and it was about 30 seconds, and he was coming on a dead run to the base of my tree. I actually had to let him come underneath me. He come downwind. He was just ears pinned back. I had a heads-up decoy over a little rise, so he couldn't see it, but he knew that calling was there. He come right underneath me, and I was just like, hey! Like the fourth time, yelled at him, and he stopped, and he's looking, and I shot straight down underneath him. It was a 172-inch buck. If you understand what I'm talking about, those whitetails in the rut, they're nose to the ground, pretty much constantly looking or sniffing. I mean, but they'll stop every 2, 3, maybe 4 minutes, and they're gonna look around because like I know they know where they're at, but they're like, all right, I just missed 3 minutes of ground. Where's danger, whatever it is. I knew I had that opportunity, but I knew I had to be making noise for him because he was visibly gone. He was somewhere between 150 and 300 yards away when he heard those antlers again, and he spun on a dime and came back in.
Yeah. Isn't that so? With your rattling sequence, are you doing any grunting and bleeding with that as well?
I do. So I'll usually I make it a fight sequence every time, like that. We were talking earlier, like that. October 27th, 28th time frame, all the way through the rut, kind of what I call the end or the late peak of November 15th, 18th, whatever it is. I'll start out, it's the same exact way. Can call, 2 to 3 different grunt calls going, that can call going back and forth, and then it's hang them up, smash the horns together as much as I can in about 30 to 60 seconds, hang them back up quick, throw out another bleat call off that can call, maybe another snort wheeze or something, and then I say get ready. Either nothing happens or it's pretty much on.
Yeah.
It's fight or flight. Usually it's flight, but when it's fight, it's awesome.
Yeah, I have a sequence that I love to do. I'll do basically hit the can, a couple bleats, and then I'll just hit the grunt like that, and then that's kind of like my typical one. If I either hear a buck or I see one and he's kind of, not super interested yet, I just get on that grunt tube and just real deep, loud. I mean, just in your face, like, come fucking go, buddy.
Yep.
Like, let's roll.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I get like I'm trying to fight this deer. Like, I put that kind of emotion into it, and that's how I bet I've killed 75% of my deer just by doing that, having them come running in, and you better be ready because it's go time.
Exactly. Over the last 10, 12 years, that is 100% it. It's definitely a fight reaction. And like I said, I'm sure there's yearlings, 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds, and even mature bucks that have nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
And that's okay. All I need is one deer a year in Wisconsin to play. And when he does, if I don't F that up.
Yeah. Well, that there's a buck I killed a few years ago. He was a 5-year-old deer, only 125 inches, but I called him in right at noon, and he came in. He was so mad for me doing that sequence. He's rubbing a tree. He's raking it up and down. And he comes out, and I went to full draw, 37 yards, and I shot him and pinwheeled him. He ran, he crashed. I went up to him. He had so many scars on his back, hair missing. He broke off his G3 on the one side. Like, he was a fighter. Like, I love that. I'm like,
exactly.
Yeah, you met your match, buddy. Like, this
Yep.
I love that. Like, he was just a brute, and I love those kind of matches. Like,
I do too.
Man, hunting, obviously that isn't something you're going to use in early October, but like you said,
Yeah, exactly.
What were you saying, November 27th, 28th is kind of like your...
October, about 27th, 28th is when I'll start, and I'm a little less aggressive at that time frame because those bucks are ready. Their testosterone's there, but the does, they're not quite receptive yet. Some of those bigger mature does at that point are, coming into estrus, but most of those bucks they're to that point where they're ready, but not full-blown stupid.
Yeah.
So I'm every 15 minutes at that point probably, and a little bit lighter on the calling and rattling. Once we progress into that 2nd, 3rd, 4th of November through whenever I, quit that rut stage, it's every 8 to 10 minutes, depending on my situation, how far I can see, and just kind of how I feel about that area. But it's all out. It's when it's November, it's as hard and as loud as I can. I don't even start soft because I know 8 minutes ago,
Yeah,
so
because they're, like you said, and especially when you're hunting, thicker woods and everything else, they're covering ground. They're not hearing you, even if they're 400 yards away or so. They're not going to hear you, and they'll cover that ground in 5 minutes.
Oh, easy.
No questions. Like, I don't want to wonder what deer pass me out of range that I can't see. I want him either to be like, oh shit, I ain't going over there.
Yeah,
or he's coming in.
That. Yeah.
I want him to know.
He sounds badass. I'm out. Or hey, let's go. Let's roll. Yep.
If you had to pick like 3 or 4 days on a calendar like that, you would be like so excited to hunt. Do you have those kind of days?
I do, and it's kind of tough because it's like the 27th, 28th of October. I've seen so many good bucks, but I've only ever killed one good one. They're still just a little too smart. If I were to put it that way. And I haven't seen as many really good ones between the 3rd and the 6th, but I've killed a lot of good ones between the 3rd and the 6th.
Yeah.
My Iowa buck 2 years ago, public land, morning. I mean, it's a tag you wait 5 years for, and 3 hours into the second morning, you have a 160-inch buck laying on the ground. November 6th was a pretty good day.
Yeah, I'd say it was.
So I for sightings, definitely 27th, 28th of October, and for killing the 4th, 5th, 6th.
Yeah. My days, if I had to pick, would be the 8th to the 11th.
Okay.
In that time frame. November 11th, I've killed probably 4 bucks on that date.
No kidding.
And but it seems like even the 7th. I mean, there's some variable days in there, but those dates right there, I know I need to be in a tree. That's just...
It doesn't matter what's going on.
Which I'd love to be in a tree every day in November because you don't know what's going to happen.
You don't.
Those days have been my most productive. Our season always closes right around the 12th-ish, and my trail cameras have showed some of the biggest deer walking in that mid-November. There's not as much movement.
No,
but
it's those mature bucks.
Yeah.
Everything's winding down. They're looking for that last doe or two.
Yep.
Those are for big bucks. Those are great days.
Yeah, and the latest one I've killed with a bow that I would consider still rutting was November 23rd in Ohio. It was the day before Thanksgiving that year, and that was the latest I've killed. And he was somewhat, getting smart kind of again, kind of weary. He wasn't as aggressive coming in, but still in that kind of zone. But I always wonder that with people if they have certain dates, and the end of October like that, if I can get a cold front in that last week of October,
it's on.
Hell yeah, let's do it.
Let's go do it. Yep.
Yeah, and something else that you had mentioned to me, and I think you might even mention a little bit earlier on this podcast, was that a lot of the deer that you kill is not out of the same tree. You might not hunt the same tree twice in 10 years. You were saying
exactly. You're 100% right. So people have started, especially over the last few years, because it's I've just had a good run over a number of years here. What are you doing, or what's different? With the aggressiveness comes freshness in my mind. I won't throw him under the bus too bad, but I have a friend last year who I was in Kansas and he texted me, what was going on, and I answered him back and asked him what, and he wasn't hunting that day because he wind was wrong for one stand, and he had hunted the other stand the day before. And I'm like, okay, well, what about any place else? He's like, well, I got 2 spots. I'm like, man, there's in Wisconsin, we've got Bayfield County alone's got 300,000 acres of public land. He's not Bayfield County, but I'm just throwing that out there. There's a lot of public land. I do not hunt, like I don't have stands up. I literally do not have stands up. I still got some lone wolf straps that I'll, if I know that it's a perennial area, a good scrape or something, I'll leave a strap and a hook up, and I'll just loosen that strap.
Yeah.
But I hunt fresh sign, and I'll hunt with a stand on my back. So I'll spend most of September in the mountains, maybe even some of October on a rifle hunt or a mule deer hunt or something. And so when I kind of roll in, late October, I want to say I'm a little bit behind the 8 ball, if you want to throw it that way. I mean, I've got cameras out doing some work, and I've got over 20 years of hunting, perennial spots that I know will hold deer somewhere. So I'm on the ground looking for the fresh sign. I'm looking for big scrapes and big rubs. I've never seen a 2-year-old rub a 7-inch tree. But on the flip side, a big whitetail will rub small trees. So I'm looking for big scrapes and big rubs, and that's where I'm set up to call in. I know those deer are around. They've made the sign, or my camera has showed, maybe here or there that there's a good buck, but it's really fresh sign. I'm not hunting cold sign.
Yep.
I'm not hunting a funnel if there's no sign. I will not do it.
Do you, when it comes to scrapes, I hunt a lot of scrapes. I love hunting scrapes, but I'm looking for those ones with the big ass licking branch that's up there that's snapped and ripped and tore. And there's some scrapes that, like you said, I could leave a stand there, or I just go back in and put a stand in the same tree every year because there's certain dates that this usually lights up.
It does, yep.
But if I go in there and it's not lit up, I'm not going to sit there. You know what I mean? This is the same thing.
Same way. I'm the same exact way.
And moving. It's funny you brought up about rubs. It's a little bit kind of off topic, but the size of rubs, there's certain areas I hunt in the big woods. So I consider there's 2 different types of like big woods type hunting. There's big woods and there's mountainous. So there's big woods that's, less terrain features. And at least in the areas I hunt in Pennsylvania, the big woods, I'm not finding as many giant rubs. I don't know if because there's not as many.
Sure.
There's a lot more smaller trees around.
Right.
So they're hitting a lot of them, where when I go to straight, like mountainous, big Oak Ridge, steep country, they're rubbing a lot bigger trees, but it might be the same age class of deer. And I don't know if it's because, again, that there's not as many small trees there,
right,
and they're doing that. I don't really know what the correlation is.
Yeah.
I've been trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
A buddy of mine that I've had on the podcast from Wild at Heart, they're out of Warren, Pennsylvania, near where I live, and they hunt those big ridges. And they think because bucks are betting on the points, and there's only so many points that they're more aggressive trying to, get that good betting spot.
Could be. That makes sense.
I don't know, but anyways.
I don't have a correlation there either.
Yeah.
Like when it comes to scrapes, you can't really discriminate. You know? I mean, there could be 13 bucks using this scrape. It could be one, 6-7-year-old buck, or it could be 3 2-year-olds. I don't know. But when I look at a big ass rub, I go, that excites me.
Yeah.
And then correlate that where there's some big scrapes around, I'm going to hunt it.
Yeah.
Now, if it's a rub that, an early season rub, they're going to be pretty small. So if I'm finding a big fresh rub, I know there's a good buck around.
Is there a certain time that you're hunting scrapes, or just whenever you find them being hot?
It kind of correlates back with, I don't really whitetail hunt much anymore before about the 27th. So anywhere from the 27th through, I'll hunt. I'm looking for scrapes through, Wisconsin rifle season.
Yeah.
Even the late season. If I see a late season scrape opened up, it might not be very big then. Any late season scrape that gets opened up, I'm going to key in on because there's something going on in there.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's true. I mean, and I believe that I bet 9 months out of the year they'll scrape.
Mm-hmm.
And I set in areas on state game lands and stuff where you're not, even in the summer, not allowed to put minerals out or whatever. Yep. I'll put preorbital gland scent on a branch, on a scrape. I won't even tear up the ground. They'll come and hit that licking branch in the summertime.
You won't see the scrape at all, but they're working the branches.
Yep.
Yep. Very common.
It does happen. So it's funny how scrapes. I'm fascinated by scrapes.
I am too.
I love it.
Yep.
And there's right and wrong ways to hunt scrapes, and there's a million different ways that can be right to hunt them. But I love if I find a big licking branch and, big tore up area underneath it, because there's a lot of scrapes that bucks will hit one time. They're just going through and they're just messing around.
Yep, they're just
pawing up the ground. And you don't want to, you got to be able to kind of identify the difference.
Absolutely. And you'll see a lot of those. I mean, I've seen bucks do it numerous times. Just exactly. They're cruising through, they stop, they make 4 or 5 paws. You can definitely tell it's a scrape. It's opened up.
Yeah.
An arm circle around. There's never going to be anything that ever touches that again. There's no licking branch. It's in the middle of, place that you're like, what's it?
Or it's like a logging road, so there might be like 10 of them right down. The guy, he's just going down, just had some testosterone build up, and he's just letting it out,
Exactly.
Yep, I agree with that 100%, man.
Yep. It's fun. I mean, whitetail, it's figuring it out. It's whitetail. It's elk. It doesn't matter. It's salmon on Lake Michigan. It's figuring it out. It's so much fun.
Yeah. You learn every year. You learn so much more. Whitetails are an amazing creature, that's for sure.
They are, and if you have that open mind, that mindset of there was in the TAC last weekend. I spent an hour talking with a couple of guys who they'd never elk hunted out west at all. So they were picking my brain for like an hour at the restaurant.
Yeah, the restaurant.
Yeah, the restaurant. And it was awesome talking to those guys, and we got chatting, and I don't even remember what it was, and they said something that clicked. I'm like, I never really thought of that way before. And these guys never even hunted out west, and I've got thousands of hours out there, and they just said something that just kind of like tweaked in my brain. I'm like, I can use that.
Yeah.
Just having an open mindset, just because you read it in a magazine, just because you heard it on a podcast, it might work for you, it might not. Just having an open mindset of trying something different or learning from, don't think you know everything by any means.
That's for sure. I have a buddy who I've had on the podcast, and he's not a name in the industry, has nothing to do with the industry, just a super successful whitetail hunter that I've known, public land guy, hunts a ton of different states, used to live out of his Jeep, hunting all these places.
That's awesome.
And his name's Johnny Stewart. And that podcast has been one of the most downloaded ones I've had, because when he talks, it's the most off-the-wall things that you think of, like, for whitetails. But, like, this guy, like, I feel like he thinks like a deer. Like, he goes in and just different, almost weird type tactics, and he just flat out gets it done. And I've taken some of those things that I never would have thought of and, used it. And it's really cool to kind of get different mindsets and figure out what works for you.
Exactly. And there's so many resources out there. I mean, it used to be, you had to buy hunting videos, and so much of that's, pen/private ranches, whatever, and it's evolved into YouTube and podcasts. And take a look at our friends at the Hunting Public. If you want to talk aggressive,
I was just gonna say that, dude.
I'm aggressive, and these guys are like. But at first I'm watching, I'm like, I don't know, and then I'm like, these guys have got a tight schedule. They need to make it happen, and they need to move on. And they put a lot of thoughts in my head, man. I'm like, yeah.
Oh, they put a lot in my head too. Like. Yeah, they're extremely...
They take aggressive to the next level. I mean, you and I are probably a couple levels up from most people, and these guys are like, they're on the top of that mountain up there going... But it's pretty fun because they get it done. Sometimes they don't, but more than not, they're getting it done. And if they don't, they learn from it, and it happens next time. So there's a lot of... So much knowledge and difference of style and adaptation out west or in Wisconsin or in Pennsylvania. Just have an open mind and be willing to adapt, I think, is going to make you much more successful.
Yeah, I completely agree. Well, Les, do you think of anything else that you want to throw out there, or what do you think?
I don't know. I think we threw out a lot of our secrets today. We might have to, revisit this somewhere later on.
Yeah, it's probably more than enough. Hopefully everyone listened to it closely and had a notepad out or gets it back out to hear some of this stuff. I know I'll be writing some stuff down when I'm doing the editing process, I know I said I don't like to edit, but I do listen to it all again.
Yeah, exactly. Crazy. Yeah. I could sit and talk this stuff literally every day, all day. It's that passionate, to me, and seeing like my son come up through it, and my daughter, she likes to shoot. She doesn't like to kill things.
Yeah.
And if you guys have questions, anybody, anywhere, see us. There's none of us that are too good. We were all there at one point in time, and we just want to see everybody else enjoy, move on, and be successful. So.
Yep, and pass their knowledge along to someone else.
Absolutely. doesn't do any good to take it with you. It's just,
Again, don't call and ask where our hunting spots are, because I'm not giving out that information.
No, I mean, you're welcome to make that phone call, but, I'll answer that number one time, and that's, you're not going to get any information on our spots or my spots. So,
yeah. So in the show notes, I'll include GPS coordinates to.
I've got a couple of great spots I'll send you.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to get in there and go after it, I'll send them to you.
All right. That's perfect. Well, Les, where can we find some more stuff, what you're doing?
My social media is kind of there. Run through my contact stuff there. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to help out as much as I can. It does get a little bit busy. Show season gets a little tough. Hunting season gets a lot tougher. Try to be off the grid there as much as possible. But Instagram and Facebook are all under me. Rock Slide, you'll find some of my articles. I got a lot of stuff coming up here. We got some new stuff going on. If you're at any of the trade shows, through Sitka or Leupold or Mountain Ops, Yeti, any of those people, feel free. Reach out. I always like chatting.
Yeah. Yeah, I can tell. We got the same passion when it comes to talking about this stuff, and that's what's awesome.
Whether it's fitness or it's outdoors, hunting, it is my passion. I mean, it really is. So, and I love to help people. Like literally, I mean, that's what's created my.
Well, help me kill an elk then.
Absolutely, man. That's whatever it takes. That's within reason.
Yeah. All right.
I got to keep the onX spots off.
Okay. I thought. I mean, they have a feature on there where you can
share way. Oh, yeah. I've shared a lot of waypoints. Oh.
Yeah. You share the ones that you already scouted. Nothing's there. No, I'm just kidding. But Les, dude, thanks for sitting down with me, man. I really appreciate it, man.
Absolutely.
We're just day one of the show, so we got 3.5 more days of each other, so it'll be a good time.
There's some pretty intense cornhole tournaments going on here. I don't know who's going to win, but there'll be a lot of BS spattered along the next few days.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to have Sarah on here, but she's ranked 36 in Utah at number 36.
She was, but she's taken like 3 weeks off now, so she's probably not even ranked anywhere anymore.
Yeah, I never knew there was cornhole rankings by state, but she's proved that to us. So
yeah, you probably want to try to draw a different partner. Awesome, man. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Sit down, talk hunting anytime. It was a good pleasure.
All right, dude. We'll talk soon.
Sounds good, buddy.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of East Meets West Hunt with your host, Bo Martonic. For more great content and to stay up to date, visit eastmeetswesthunt.com, Facebook at East Meets West Outdoors, and Instagram at East Meets West Hunt. If you enjoyed today's episode, please review and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time.